Hello and welcome to Podcast of a Lincoln Geek. I'm your host, the podcaster general, the Dan Face. I'm trying to reduce all my titles so it doesn't take up half of the episode. I'm joined by my regular friend and regular co-host. We have the Pete.
Another fine podcast for my collection.
Excellent work there, Pete. And we are also graced by our glorious, fearless leader. It is the Chris. Say hello, Mr. Chris.
Hello, everybody.
Good to have you back, buddy. How you been?
All right, we've just been really busy after Expo.
Yeah, I appreciate it. 99% of the work on the site is done by the Chris. He basically organises everything. So you're a very
I do
busy
have
man,
multiple hats. Yes,
You do, yeah,
I am.
yeah.
I am. I dish out games for review. I do all the social media stuff. I delegate little tasks here and there to every people who specialise in things. So, yeah, I'm a busy chap.
guy. I just stay in my podcast cave. It's where I'm comfortable and happy.
Podcast cave, yeah, that's fine. But you're also in charge of the all-important discard, Mr. Dan.
Yes, that is true. That's true. I have two hats. That's enough for me. I've got 6 kids to feed as well, so I try my best to keep on top of what I can. Well, anyway,
we're kids and fur babies, yeah.
Yeah, I'm including the fur babies and that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you've not tuned in to listen to us talk about our delegations and responsibilities with the website. You've come to listen to us talk about board games and other random geeky stuff, whatever we want to talk about. And today, we came up with a topic. I mean, this one was Pete's idea mainly, so if it's rubbish, we blame Pete. Thanks, Pete.
I love how you passed the buck there, mate.
Yeah, blame the new guy.
We're all about delegating, This is fine.
True.
And you can't use the new guy anymore, Pete. You've been doing this a while.
Yeah,
True,
you've been
actually,
here for like 50 years now, Pete. Come on, man.
It's been nearly a year. Yeah, I can't believe it's been nearly a year. Where's this year gone?
We need to do an episode count because we're nearly at episode 100. I need to do an episode
Yeah.
count. Next one, guys. I will tell you what episode number it is, and then we'll plan something big for the 100th if we can. Anyway, the topic for this one is what's your geeky pet peeves? So I thought we could have a little venting session. What really grinds our geeky gears? What gets on our nerves? It could be something specific to board games. Maybe it's the other players. Maybe it's just something about what to buy. Maybe it's Kickstarter, like you're missing out. Maybe it's the fear of missing out. FOMO, we all know about that. So I just thought it'd be a good session. It's good to vent, guys. It's good for our mental health. So let's go round the table. Should we start? Because we haven't seen him in a while. Let's talk to Chris. Chris, what's your geeky pet peeves? Would you like to go first?
Oh, from a board game perspective, it's got to be when Kickstarters don't design their boxes good enough to encompass expansions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they come up with these amazing games, and there are some amazing games out there, and they don't design their core box to store expansions they release. I can't think of an example right now, which is really bad. No, yes, I can. Lords of Waterdeep, for example. I know it's an older title, but it's an awesome title, and the expansions don't fit in the box, and they've got so many cards that go with it. It doesn't go in. And I've got plastic Tupperware boxes holding cards purely because it won't fit in the original box.
Yeah, I hear you there. That is a great one. I mean, nothing's more satisfying to me is when you get an expansion and you can fit it in the base box.
It just looks neat on your shelf.
It does, rather than just having extra boxes just for expansions. I'd rather all just have it in one. I mean, quite often now, I actually get rid of the insert that comes with the games, the base games, just for some extra space. And if I can get any custom foam ones, they're brilliant, but they can be expensive.
Well, we're seeing lots of companies that design really fancy, elaborate storage solutions for your games, and it often includes the expansions, and it fits in the original box.
That's the dream.
Well, it is. There's companies out there like Laser Rocks that actually make them. They've designed one for the latest Oathsworn, and it fits all the cards and the tokens inside the box. Why doesn't this game designer do it in the first place?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I've got someone's Battlestar. I've got there's Broken Token. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
They're they do loads of really good foam inserts. I managed to fit all of the Battlestar expansions in one box.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Heaven.
It
On
is.
a similar note, I love games that look cool on the shelf, but it really bothers me if I sleeve the cards. They no longer fit in the box.
Yeah, that's another one of my pet peeves. So
Yeah.
you kind of beat me to it there.
Oh, sorry. Well, I thought it was similar. Like,
Yeah.
a couple of examples. I've got the Salem game.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It looks awesome on a shelf. The box looks like a book, but I sleeve the cards and I can no longer close the book fully.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
that's
had to like
yeah.
unsleeve some of the cards. So I've sleeved the ones with all the secret identities saying if you're a witch or not. I've had to prioritize which to have sleeved just so I can actually shut the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, for example, Exploding Kittens. Okay, great game, great card game. Sees a lot of play in our household. We even took it on to Spain, right? But once it's sleeved, it's so tight in the box, it's crazy. We've had to take out that cardboard central bit just so it all fits.
I had to put all of my expansions for Werewolf into a Tupperware box. I think it's one a friend, funny enough, bought some cookies in for like game night, but with all the sleeves and 4 copies of 4 different Werewolf games, I should say, and the sleeved cards to clarify. They wouldn't fit in the box, and there've been a few times where some of the boxes have actually been damaged from me transitioning them around. I think I came home from Lincoln once and I found out one of my boxes got dented. So maybe not quite the same now I think about it in a bit more detail, but yeah, I've had to put things in Tupperware boxes because they either won't all fit in the box or to slightly preserve the box as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone the extra geeky mile sometimes with game storage. I've got those those plastic toolboxes that usually normal people have like screws in or nuts and bolts and stuff. I've got like little game tokens. Like for Firefly, there's like 50 different tokens in that game. And I hated having all them in baggies just floating around inside the box. So I've just kind of put them in like little compartments in this big toolbox. It's like plastic clear toolbox.
If it's any consolation, Dan, I've done the exact same thing for parts from my He-Man figures. All the figures that come with like spare hands, spare weapons, I put them into one of those 2 boxes. And because I sometimes buy the figures off a site called Big Bad Toy Store, they usually give like a sticker for every single purchase you make. I've actually put one of those stickers on the toolbox. So I got a head under my table with this manly looking toolbox. So you open it up, it's got Big Bad Toy Store sticker on the top. You open it up and it's got He-Man parts in it. I'll send you some pictures later.
Brilliant.
Sounds great. Well, that's a very good suggestion for the first one, Chris, and I totally agree. I mean, I know it's hard for them because quite often they prioritize just making stuff look good on the shelf, getting the base game in there, but they don't plan ahead for any expansions or leaving. Yeah,
it really would be nice because I mentioned Oathsworn, and Oathsworn is one I'm really excited because obviously the Kickstarter has been going, the game found has been done. And I think they're getting close to doing the actual, getting people's pledges out to everyone. Their expansions are separate boxes in this instance, and there's a reason for it, and that's fine because it's a legacy game. And as you discover monsters, it tells you which box to go to get the relevant monster out for that relevant encounter. So that's really clever, and I get that. But their base game, which they're releasing, the core elements, all those components are all just scattered, and there's lots in there. And like I say, it's Laser Rocks have designed the insert. It's silly. I really wish they'd just do that in the first instance.
Yeah, it can be tricky, and I think it gives me kind of like a bonus points if a game developer does actually go the extra mile and think ahead. I was like, that's really nice that the sleeve cards fit in there.
And they're the kind of nice Kickstarter unlocks. If we get to this amount of backers, we'll do an insert, or we get to this amount of backers, we'll do sleeves for your game because you don't have to go out and buy sleeves. So those kind of stretch goals are good ones because they're ones what lots of gamers want.
Yeah, all good. Well, I feel like we should go round the table. Have you got anything else to chuck in there, Pete, about this one? Because I was going to go to you next for your next.
No, that's actually a good point I hadn't considered. But yes, I think the only thing I might say is I can somewhat sympathize with the creators to a degree if they come up with an idea for an expansion after the game has been released. And that's fair. But at the same time, actually, I think one thing I quite like about Boss Monster is they did release a carry box that can fit, I think, the base game, its sequel, and all its various expansions. Nice. And I think that's maybe more companies look into doing something like that. Because admittedly it's an extra cost for the consumer, but it's perhaps a safe way for them to stock So I think I even managed to fit all my cards in their sleeve. I so rarely play Boss Monster, as I've mentioned in prior podcasts. I think it's a okay game with some fantastic artwork, but I managed to sleeve all or most of my cards and fit them in there without any problem. So I think it's a good middle ground. I think.
Cool. Okay, well, we'll move on from box interior design, and we'll go on to your next item. So, Pete, what did you want to talk about? What's your geeky pet peeve number 1?
Oh, I've got so many. I think
You've got several.
I've got several. I think I'll go with FOMO, or fear of missing out.
Oh, that's a classic. That's a classic.
Oh yeah, there's so many different variations of this. For example, as I said earlier, I collect action figures, and one of the big frustrations I'm finding right now is actually buying the figures, because they seem to sell out so very, very quickly. And this is a case of, if you don't buy or pre-order a figure as soon as it's available, you'll have to go to the secondhand market, where it'll go up for like 2-3 times the price. And I mean, it's very much a case of like, it's a case of like, yeah. So it's a case of like, do I drop, say, 50-60 quid right now, and during maybe an expensive month, but at the same time know that I do want this figure, or do I wait 2 or 3 months and then have to drop, say, 70-80 quid because it's out of stock? Or the flip side of the coin, suddenly it goes down by 10-20%, which I have seen a few times. It's the case of, do you because I am trying to sort of maybe cut back on what I spend a little bit, but at the same time, how long should I wait, or should I just bite the bullet? Because there have also been a few times where I can't find a figure that I want for a reasonable price in the UK, so I've had to import it off of either Amazon.com or Big Bad Toy Store. It adds an extra maybe 10-20 quid because of all the shipping, but on the other hand, I'm not, it's cheaper than, say, a scalper or someone just selling at a second-hand price. So, and I think it's one of the things that's always sort of turned me off Kickstarter a little bit, is because to go to a more board game example, like I'm very, very hesitant when it comes to buying board games for multiple reasons. They rarely see my table here because I don't play board games as much with my friends as I would like. Local friends, I should clarify. But also, I have this thing about, do I want to drop 50, 60, 70 quid on a board game that I won't see much of? So, and then you see on the Kickstarter, it's like, okay, the base game is 30 quid. Maybe I can justify that. But if you pay an extra 20, 30, 40 quid, you get all the bells and whistles. And I'm thinking, well, do I like the base game?
They're always limited edition, these bells and whistles, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, limited edition.
That's what gets me. I mean, I used to have a strong resistance to Kickstarter until you guys corrupted me. And now I'm like, limited edition, collector's edition. I'm like,
aren't you on like your third Kickstarter now?
Shush, don't tell me.
You're on your third Kickstarter. You've done Final Girl. What was the next one?
One of them's on GameFound. Is that the same?
It's still the same. It's the crowdfunding. You broke your crowdfunding cherry. So
you did,
Final
and I can't
Girl.
stop now. Yeah. Well, no, I actually I got Final Girl retail. Actually, I got it afterwards. But the first one was the Last of Us board game.
That's it. Yes.
I mean, I'm only doing the ones of the kind of the IPs or something I really like. So I've only done 3. And the first one was the Last of Us board game, and I did go for the collectors on that just because it came with awesome miniatures instead of just standees. Like little cutout standees. It's actually a full-on miniature. So I had to. And the other one after that is the guys. Is it Facade Games? The people that made Salem. Yeah. They've made a new one. I think it's set in Hollywood. It's got a solo mode, so I was like, ooh. And also, if you went for a couple of the extras, you got like an index book where you can fit all those stray tokens that won't fit in the box because I've sleeved the cards. So going back to that, so I finally got like a little extra box. Well, I will have, where I could put and I can actually fit the books properly on the shelf, which would be awesome. What's the third one? Oh yes, I've just recently splurged for the Firefly. They've like done
Firefly collector's edition.
Yeah, they've done like a big box edition because I missed the boat on all of the expansions. I've only got the base game. I thought I'd splurge. It's a kind of nearly my 40th birthday, so I thought it would be a present from me to me.
Well, look,
to future Dan anyway. It'll arrive in 24 or whatever.
I'm totally with you though on the point you were making. with that whole FOMO and the fear of missing out. And like, you're right though, Pete. You see these Kickstarters and you go, oh, but it's only an extra 20 quid for those extra bits. I did that with Redwood, which was on GameFound. So there isn't just Kickstarter, folks. There are other crowdfunding platforms, and GameFound's one of them. And Redwood is a photography game where you're basically moving throughout the forest, and you have to get the best angles to take pictures of the wildlife. And the extra bits was a couple of expansions, but also the ever so glorious playmats. I have a problem for playmats. I really do. So I just went all in on it, and flipping heck, 250 quid later.
Oh,
250 quid on a board game.
It can sneak up on you, can't it?
I mean, you're talking to someone who's about to spend 120 quid on 4 action figures, so I can't really comment too much.
It's just part of your, your 6-figure income, isn't it, Pete?
It is, yeah. It's part of my 6-figure income. 6-figure a month income.
People turn around to me and say, this is a pet peeve actually. People turn around to me and go, how can you afford to buy all these board games, right? I don't count the ones where we're given for review, because obviously that's what we're asked to do. We're asked to review a game. But where I've bought a game, I go, I don't smoke.
Yeah,
I hardly drink. I literally hardly drink these days.
Yeah.
And what else have I got to splurge on? I don't even buy that much Lego anymore, because now I have a Lego shop. So my vice is my board games, and like we've said before, they're like a trophy. They look good on the shelf as well.
I mean, if they bring you joy, go for it. I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, people say, oh, they're really expensive, 70, 80 quid or whatever. I mean, that's basically a night out, isn't it? These days. So if you go for a meal and a night out, that's easily 80 quid. You'll hit triple digits if you go back to a club afterwards. I mean, and then you have nothing to show for it afterwards apart from a hangover.
Exactly. I remember back, and this is like early to mid 2010s. 50 quid would get me an absolute banging night out and maybe a kebab and a taxi home. But I have nothing to show for it other than embarrassing photos on Facebook. But of course, the price of booze has gone up now quite a bit. I think some of my favorite clubs around here that I've not been to since the pandemic have gone from like £3 even a drink to like £5-6. So it's like you said, on the other hand, I could spend that 70 quid on a board game or away with figures, and I've got some cool things on my shelf that I can look at, periodically play around with, pose, whatever. So no, I agree, and I'm in a similar boat to Chris actually, because I've had some people say similar to me. But like you said, I don't drink as much as I used to. I don't smoke. I don't travel. It's basically a case of, maybe I do splurge a bit more than I perhaps should. Maybe there are times where I should maybe hold back a little bit. But then that goes back to my earlier point of, if I hold back, am I going to get, will I find it available 2 months down the road at a reasonable price? Or is it going to sell out completely? And then I got to pay like 30 quid for a figure that would have cost me 18 quid plus shipping or something similar.
Well, at the end of the day, I think it's all about balance, isn't it? As long as you've maintained your adult responsibilities. So if you've got kids, obviously you provide for them first. Then you've got rent, food. If you manage to cover all of your grown-up stuff and you've got a bit of spare cash, which you've earned through working, I don't think you should feel guilty about treating yourself. No. It's all about quality of life, isn't it? You've got to have some things just to, shiny, just to help you.
What about you, Dan?
So fear of missing out. Great shout out there, Pete. I'm going to piggyback off yours slightly. It's kind of related. My pet peeve is when, to complete a collection, do you buy something that's kind of an inferior part of that collection?
Completionism.
I know. So, for example, going back to Final Girl, I've got most of the season 1 box sets. I've got all the ones that have got really good reviews, and I'm having fun with them. I'm actually playing them occasionally. It's all good. I've nearly got the full set, apart from one, which I've heard has kind of got very mixed reviews from everyone generously. So I've got this decision: do I buy this one feature film, which I'm probably never going to play, really, maybe once, just for curiosity, just to complete the collection, then I've got the full set? Or do I just literally just get the ones I actually want to play? So I've got like this missing space on the shelf. I'm like, oh, should I
do it now?
So you guys are basically, you can't both be my evil conscience. Hey, I need a good conscience on one shoulder. I can't have two evil consciences.
I
Be sensible and don't buy it. You don't need it.
I'm a collector, and as a collector, I advise you to buy it. I am your good conscience.
Whenever I talk about Pete, whenever I talk to Pete about, oh, this looks good, he's always like, buy it now, buy it.
And I'm like, if you don't buy it, I will.
So that's my one. It kind of ties in slightly with Pete's as well. So it's do I complete the collection with something that's a bit inferior just to complete the set?
It's a tricky one because, like you said, I mean, you've talked about this expansion a few times. If you're not going to play it, do you really want to buy it?
Yeah.
I mean, going back to myself briefly, I mean, there have been a few times where I've bought figures that perhaps I wasn't originally planning to, but as my collection has grown, I've kind of seen I can justify it. But but again, that's more for my display. But if you're not actually going to be playing the game, and it's like what 20, 30 quid.
Yeah,
is that 20? That's 20, 30 quid. That could go towards a season 2 or hopefully season 3 expansion for Final Girl.
Yeah, so I mean, I've decided that in this example, I'm just going to cherry pick the ones I actually want to play, and then if I see the others secondhand for cheap, then maybe I'll get them just to complete the set. We'll see.
I mean, if you're lucky, if this one reviews so badly, maybe you can get it on eBay for like a tenner, and just hope there aren't any parts missing or damaged issues.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, we've been around the table once. So I think we should just do it one more time. So just kind of a little bit more quicker next time. Rapid fire, guys. Do you have any more you wanted to chuck out, Chris?
Yeah, I've got one for you. So one of my big pet peeves, not a big pet peeves, but it's the style of gaming. So I'm a very much of a casual kind of gamer. I am not competitive. It's very rare that I'm competitive with the game. The only time I might be competitive with the game if it's one of my games and I'm really excited to play it. But the majority of the time, I'm a casual gamer. I play because I enjoy the social interaction. Okay?
Sure.
And then you've got the other extreme where, you've got someone, maybe a part of your group or someone, you're playing with for the first time and they're uber competitive and they analyze everything and they look at everything. And when, they pressure you because you're not like that. That's one of the big things.
So you're on about overly competitive players.
Yeah. Overly competitive players. It's a game at the end of the day. It's a bit of fun, and I don't want my experience to be ruined by someone over rules lawyering stuff, And I've got a great example here. It was I was doing a D&D session, several years ago, and someone was wanting to play with psionics, and I hate psionics. They're an absolute nightmare, and They cried when the DM turned around and said, "No, you're not doing it." And I'm like, "It's just a game."
No, I get what you mean. Some people can take it a bit too seriously. I mean, my main objective when I have a game tonight is for everyone to have fun. I'd rather it be like a close game for everyone rather than me just win by a country mile. If I find it as a massacre, even if it's in my favor, I find it quite anticlimactic and kind of I feel bad for the other player. I think winning is my secondary objective. My first one is having fun, and you're quite right. I mean, these are games. It's not like a tournament people are in. There's no like cash on the line if it's just your friends around for a game's night.
I get it when people are competitive when they are playing in a tournament, like a Magic tournament or a 40k tabletop, miniatures.
Sure. Then you're professional. Like this is for the tournament. We're gonna play 100% efficient,
and that's fine.
Yeah,
I've run massive Magic tournaments. I know it. I get it. So
sure. I mean,
there's a time and a place for it.
On the flip side, I mean, this kind of the many pet peeve as well for me is people that I know you don't want it to take it too seriously, but I like it if people do take it a little, actually play by the rules and do it a little bit seriously. Yeah. Like I've had people when I played Battlestar in the past when I've had to mention. I mentioned every episode, and here's the one.
You mentioned it earlier. This is the second time today, technically.
Yeah, I know, right? I've had players. Well, I can think of one example really, who just desperately wanted to be on the evil team. So even if he drew the human card and was technically on the good team, he would act like an evil player anyway.
Oh God, who was that?
I don't want to shame him on the podcast. Okay. I won't do that. But essentially,
it wasn't me, was it?
No, it wasn't you. Basically, he did this the first time we played with him, and it just basically made it a guaranteed auto loss for the humans, because it's quite hard on the humans that game anyway, especially when you have someone that's acting like a Cylon when they're not a Cylon. Because we jailed him, so we thought, oh, he just is a Cylon, so we brigged him and then we killed him, and he was human. We're like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I just wanted to help the Cylons. So I was like, okay, that's funny, yeah, but please try and help the team you're on.
Yeah. Because it's not easy at the best of time, and you lose resources because of that as well.
Yeah, exactly, because we lost the morale for killing him because he was human. So we gave him another shot, and he came back again, and he did it again. He played like a Cylon again. So we're like, okay, you're blacklisted, because basically he just guaranteed a loss for the one team just because he thought it was funny to be evil when he wasn't. But anyway, bit of a minor rant there.
Actually, that reminds me, I think, of the Thing game, because I think you've mentioned when playing that game, you've got to play the human role as much as possible, because we've seen a few times where if people, like once you start getting a domino effect of people turning to the Thing side, it goes very south for the humans very, very quickly, and that's people unwittingly turning. If you just imagine people like deliberately going, oh, I'm going to pretend to be evil, and maybe I'll turn at the end of the game, fingers crossed. I can imagine that would make the game even harder. And arguably,
go ahead.
And arguably kill them before they even get a chance to join the Thing team.
I mean, the Thing is a good example, really, because I do like a little warning when I play that. Is like, don't try and metagame it, because it kind of ruins the game. Because you're right that for the humans, as the alien spreads, it can get a bit dire straits for them. So if you're playing just to win rather than playing, to fit the theme of the game, then you'll be like, oh, turn me into an alien, please. You'll do whatever you can to turn into an alien to join the winning team, which just goes really against the spirit of the game. Because I would say if you're a human in the Thing, your best winning objective is to stay human, stay alive, and win. And then if you turn against an alien, it should be against your will, because genuinely being eaten by an alien and turned into one isn't a pleasant process. So I don't think the player should do that.
I would also add as well, because when we had the game where you and I managed to turn half the table into Things, it's far more satisfying watching someone pick the token that turns him into a Thing. Yeah, and then obviously I think because we were playing on TTS, and no one could see my demonic grin when I watched. I turned you and Shane, and then you turned Buttons and George and Pineapple. Just watching the grin on my face from how it happened naturally, rather than, oh, I'm going to spend time with this person. Oh, I'm not turned yet. How about you? Oh, I'm not turned yet. How about you?
I think it worked in our case because everyone was playing for the team they were on, so I can respect that. So when people were humans, they were trying to stay human and they were trying to win as a human, and then we obviously turned them against their will.
Exactly.
So that was fine. I would have probably been slightly peeved if people were intentionally trying to visit as many aliens as they could to turn, so they win the game, which I think just goes against the spirit of the theme of the game. In that case. Well, that's a good one there, Chris. Sorry to kind of hijack your suggestion there. Unless you've got anything else to add, we're going to go to Pete quickly before we run out of time.
No, I'm happy with that.
Okay, cool. Pete, rapid fire. Have you got anything else you'd like to chuck out?
I technically have two, but I'll try and rapid fire them as fast as possible. The first one I wanted to mention is things going out of stock for one reason or another. Now, obviously, I understand things can't be in stock indefinitely. Maybe a license expires. Maybe it doesn't sell enough to justify it, whatever. But as a collector, it's frustrating when there's something that catches my eye, and my only options are basically secondhand off eBay, which are either going to have absolute pristine mint condition that costs like say 50, like triple the base price, or is in such terrible condition it's borderline useless, bar maybe in the case of say a board game having a handful of meeples you can have as replacements. My non-board game example is when I used to collect a lot of manga. I collected manga for about 5 to 7 years, and an ex of mine, she basically said to me something to the tune of stop being so geeky. It wasn't quite like that, but she was kind of like, because I had been quite recluse by that point in my life. I hadn't really sort of embraced life that much, so I took that to mean sell all of my geeky stuff, which I did. In fact, the only manga I have in that period that survived my massive purge is my One Piece, because of how much I love One Piece. But there are a few other manga series that I have sold, such as Flame of Recca and Rave Master, that they weren't 10 out of 10 series, but they were fun, enjoyable series. The license for those mangas have since expired. They didn't sell. They weren't exactly flying off the shelves. They were very, very niche series. So whoever had the license I think Turkey Pop's actually gone out of business since then, but no one's bothered to renew the license, so I can't buy them. So if I want to get Flame of Recco or Ravemaster, as I said earlier, I'm going to have to either, buy a book that would have cost me, say, £7 back in the day, will maybe be like 70 because of how bleeding rare it is.
Yeah.
Or it's a former library copy, which I have seen on eBay. My mum used to work in a library, and she would periodically withdraw graphic novels from me to have my collection, and some of them were in fantastic condition, some of them less so.
And that's the gamble, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I had I used to collect comic books, believe it or not. I had a massive selection of Spider-Man and Venom, and I did exactly the same thing. I had an ex tell me stop being so geeky and have it clear out. You've got so much stuff. So I did. I got rid of all my Spider-Mans, all of them, and I'm gutted. And my Venom in particular, because I didn't realise that the run, like you've just mentioned, limited run. Trying to get number 1 of that Venom series now, the comic's £50. And I sold the lot for £40. That's just number 1 now.
So I think the ultimate pet peeve is our evil exes. Never let them change, you guys. Never
podcast.
Well, I will say one thing in defense of that evil ex. No, evil ex is the wrong phrase. Evil. Anyway, it's through her that I made Facebook, and it's through Facebook that I got back in touch with Dan. So if it wasn't for her, I maybe wouldn't have got back in touch with Dan, reestablished our old friendship, and be here today.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm the same now. I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't have met my ex. So I got to thank my ex for that. So
it's all character development, isn't it, guys?
Yes, it is.
On the off chance you're listening, thank you.
Very, very wholesome message at the end there. Well done, guys. Well, Pete, you said you had 2. We have pretty much at our time box. So did you quickly want to shout out what your second one was?
Spoilers, basically. Just I recently watched the new Dragon Ball movie a few days ago. It'd been out in the cinema since it came out in the cinema last August. I tried my hardest to avoid spoilers. I didn't. I still enjoyed the film, but watching characters attain new forms or like the secret final boss is less interesting when I go into the film knowing what's going to happen. And I mean, I could honestly do an entire rant about spoilers because I'm a very, very big fan of story-heavy video games, but and just stumbling across a spoiler you didn't seek out is what I find annoying. It's not like you went to a video or a post about that game expecting spoilers. You're watching a video, you're reading a post, and then suddenly massive unexpected spoilers. No one expects the spoiler inquisition sort of deal.
Yeah, I know. I get what you say there. I mean, and the YouTube homepage is very dangerous when there's something. Because it knows your algorithm, it knows what you're interested in. So if there's like a new show or a new whatever game or anything come out, just watch out for the YouTube homepage because it might just have front page spoilers.
I've got the perfect example of that actually. If you don't mind quickly saying it.
Yeah, go on then, quickly, go on.
So when I got into the video game series Danganronpa, I was listening to a lot of the music because I love the music in that game. And Danganronpa is a very, very dark game about death because characters do die off of the game.
I'd say it's dark humor, isn't it?
Yeah, dark humor.
It's kind of a pinch of soul. It's a murder mystery game.
Yeah. So the video I saw was like the top 10 executions in Danganronpa, and on the thumbnail is a scene of the first game's mastermind in a spoiler, like a scene from the actual ending.
The secret villain was
the secret villain.
Yeah,
and I'm like, by this point, I kind of got an idea that person might have been the secret villain, but seeing that, I was like, oh, thanks.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't want to see that.
And the thing is, they do that, and it's so it's the way of getting people to watch this stuff these days.
It probably gets some hate clicks, which is just the
same as normal hate clicks, but also it's clickbait. They want you to click on it because you're intrigued. Ooh, what's that? And,
angry.
And it's even worse. It's even worse now with films, because let's face it, trailers these days. Just watch the trailer. It's most of the film already.
Yeah. I remember seeing the trailer for one of the more recent Terminator films a few years ago. And then when I went to the cinema with a few friends, when that trailer came on, I turned to a friend and said, hey, if you want to see this film, don't watch this trailer. It gives away everything. I think it was Terminator Genesis.
Oh, Genesis. Okay.
Yeah.
They need to go back to the old days, but I'm not going to go there.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, when it was just a title.
We had to walk 3 miles just to go to cinema.
I remember we used to go into Hull to go to cinema.
Yeah. Crazy.
Because they had.
I remember when Lincoln only had one cinema.
Yeah, and that's now a restaurant. It's now
a restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a restaurant. It was because I went there once with you and your now wife, and it's just so weird going to a place that I used to go to see films, and it's just no longer a cinema. It's just a restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we've hit our time box there. I did have one very quick one.
Can I mention it?
But I don't want to grumble about other players too much, but it's if people are on their phone while you're explaining the rules, or when it's not their turn, if they immediately whip out their phone and they're not watching the game, and then when it comes around to them, they're like, "Okay, what happened?" Part of my brain just kind of twitches, like.
I am guilty of that one. I know I've done that in the past, and I am consciously aware of it. But often it's a case of I'm just taking a picture of the game progress.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, everyone gets a little bit of leeway. Sometimes you have family message you or something urgent pop up, so that's fine. But if people are just like Facebooking or something while they're waiting for their turn to come around, that is a bit of a pet peeve of mine.
If I want to use the phone during a game, I will excuse myself and go to the bathroom, partially to actually use the bathroom, but also that then gives me like a bit of privacy to actually use the phone. But otherwise, the phone is off unless I'm expecting a call from a family member because of some emergency or something similar. The phone is off. The phone is on Do Not Disturb. Or no, actually, I won't put on Do Not Disturb because in case I do need to get an emergency call. But it's in my pocket. It's out the way, and I will only touch it if we're having a break.
Yeah, it's mainly if they're just scrolling, so they're just kind of they're not waiting for. They're not watching while other people are doing their go, so they're just kind of scrolling Facebook or whatever, Instagram. Just then they have no idea what's happened when it's come back round to them. That's a pet peeve of mine. Well, I feel like that was a good venting session, guys. Do you feel good? You've
Always love a good vent.
Always
pet
fun.
Peeve stroke vent.
Exactly. It's good for all of us. Feel free to everyone have a half-hour venting session. You'll feel a lot better. Well, I'd like to thank you both for your thoughts and comments. It's always a pleasure talking to you both. I'd like to thank everyone at home or doing the dishes, whatever they do, listening to our little show about board games and random geeky stuff. We actually have someone that's better than the plugs of me here today. Go for it, Chris.
Okay. So if you've enjoyed this and you like talking about board games, then do pop along and check out our Discord, because we have our own Discord. Mr. Dan is in charge of that, and we all have all sorts of conversations on there about games, what's coming out, and even organized gaming sessions. So do pop along and check that out. But also, if you're a fan of what we do and you want to support us, then please obviously subscribe to our YouTube or our Facebook or even our actual website, which of course is diaryofalincolngeek.com or DOALG.co.uk.
Excellent plug in there, Chris. Well done. Well, I'd like to thank you both again, and thank you everyone listening to our little show. And as always be gaming. Bye.
Keep gaming, everyone.
Keep gaming. Bye.